Ladies and gentlemen, political pundits and commentators can theorize all they want. But to me, building a stronger America and a better Connecticut boils down to one simple question. Can we do better? To me, the answer to that question is a resounding yes, which is why I am proud to stand before you this morning to declare my candidacy for the United States Senate. Public service is something that I have never taken lightly, whether it was serving as deputy counsel in the office of the governor, as an alderman in Waterbury, and later as acting mayor of this city during a time of great crisis, or now as a state senator. I have always sought to place principle above expediency and to do what I think is right for the people I represent. It's that desire to serve the people of Connecticut that brings me to this moment here today and to this candidacy. We have a lot of work to do to make life better for the people of Connecticut. Families continue to struggle with rising health care and energy costs. Many of our schools continue to fail to properly educate our children. Our nation faces enemies abroad who will stop at nothing to destroy life as we know it. And the current economic crisis has affected everyone negatively and has left us wondering about our future. Everyone is hurting. Senator Christopher Dodd has failed us in many ways. But ultimately, I'm not running this race to run against Chris Dodd. I'm running for the United States Senate to take us into the future and away from what Chris Dodd has come to represent. Career politicians who have been in power for so long and with so little accountability that they think they can do or fail to do anything they want and still get themselves reelected. Whether my opponent is Dodd or any other number of political insiders, I am committed to changing Washington in ways that career politicians simply cannot do. To me, the bottom line for me has always been that government should exist to serve the people. The people do not exist to serve the government. That's a principle that I learned from my parents, Giacomo and Marie Caligiuri. My parents are immigrants who came here with very little education and who worked in factories and labored in similar jobs their entire adult lives to provide a better education and a better life for my brother John and me. And although I didn't realize it at the time, their dedication, work ethic, and integrity would serve as the foundation for my approach to public service and to leadership. I can still remember as plain as day sitting at my dining room table with my father at my parents' house and having him say to me any number of times, "Sam, remember this. If you do what's right for the people will always be with you, and it won't matter which interests are lined up against you, because you'll have the people on your side." That's why when I became the acting mayor, and one of the biggest problems we faced was corruption in city government, one of the first things that I did was begin to reform that system by taking out the corrupt system for handing out towing contracts to political cronies without regard to merit. We changed that system, and we made it a system that was based solely on merit and which had independent oversight. That's why, as the acting mayor, I began the process of dismantling the system of handing out lucrative jobs to politically connected attorneys, regardless of merit. I can tell you that there were interests who didn't like those changes, but they were the right changes to make for the people. And with the city facing tremendous financial difficulty, I negotiated collective bargaining agreements that saved taxpayers millions of dollars. Not because I wanted votes, I wasn't running for anything, but because it was right for families. You see, at the core of my philosophy is fiscal responsibility. And I believe that the only way we're going to turn our country and our economy around is to control spending, focused on broad-based tax cuts, and reduce the deficit so that future generations, generations like my children's, aren't saddled with a crippling debt. My friends, with our nation and our state at a crossroads, Connecticut needs a senator who's committed to reform, principled, and courageous enough to stand up and do the right thing, regardless of pressure, whether from the left or the right. Simply maintaining the status quo is not going to make life better for the people of Connecticut. We have always done best as our nation, and our leaders have always done best, when they have stood on principle and have been willing to withstand tremendous pressure and adversity in favor of supporting those principles. That is the kind of senator Connecticut needs, and that is the kind of senator I pledge to be. During the course of the next 20 months, we plan to build a campaign that's focused on having a dialogue with the people of Connecticut. A dialogue where we exchange ideas, my ideas, theirs, about how we can make life better for our state, for our nation, and ultimately for the people of Connecticut, and to improve their lives. During the course of our history as a nation, the American people and generations before us have always risen to the challenge and blazed a new path during difficult times. And so as I close, I say, from my family to the families of Connecticut, now it's our turn. Thank you for being here, and I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have.